We get our Arkansas talk here at the Voice of College Football SEC from Ty Hudson. You can catch him there on the Pig Trail Network. And, of course, Talking Hogs, the month of June has been huge in recruiting. Seems a bit late, though, Ty, to be putting together the finishing touches on that coaching staff, especially since you would want to have those guys in play to build the relationships and form the foundation during spring practice. But you do what you can, but you lose an offensive line coach to LSU and Brad Smith, and then the dominoes fell from there.
Yeah, this has been an interesting – this whole offseason's been interesting. And I remember you and I talking about this. I didn't see any more coaching changes happening. I said once you get out of spring camp, that's usually you could take a big sigh of relief because this should be it. This should be all the changes that we had up until that point. And, tight end coach, okay, defensive back, whatever kind of changes. Of course, they didn't lose a defensive back. I'm just saying, little pieces here and there you kind of get. But then you lose your offensive line coach. And they've had to make some changes there. Obviously, you lost Coach Stepp, wide receivers coach, who, in my opinion, is still a big loss, and he's at South Carolina. The dominoes just seem to keep falling on this staff, and this is the most turnover. I really don't remember a year one turnover like I've seen this year, and without when you consider all the changes that they've made, especially on the offensive side of the ball with when talking about the coaching staff. But Cody Kennedy, the former tight end coach who was just brought in this year, is now going to coach the offensive line. Most people, Arkansas fans are aware of the relationship that he has with Sam Pittman going back his days at Georgia. He was, I believe, an assistant offensive line coach, something like that, underneath Sam Pittman. So he's been around it, the offensive line. This isn't anything brand new to him. He was an offensive line coach at another non-P5 school before he came to Arkansas. So at least you have the experience there. But now you got to find your tight end. Well, they look to the NFL. They look to Dowell Loggains. I think I'm pronouncing that right. A former NFL offensive coordinator who does have ties. He has ties to the state of Arkansas. He's from here. He actually played quarterback here under Houston Nutt way back in, good grief, I was in high school, way back in the early 2000s, and didn't do much. I think you were able to find that he logged like 2 carries for 5 yards or something.
That's
but
the stat line.
That's not look, he's got the NFL experience. He was an OC for 3 different NFL programs. He's been around, and you could see the advantage on the recruiting trail with something like that, but he's never coached tight ends. So we'll see what happens there, but the timing is what it is. And it's hard to go out and find a quality tight end coach in the month of June. So they found this connection with Dowell Loggains. I'm not entirely sure his connection to Sam Pittman, but I'm sure it had something to do with his familiarity with the state and with the university. So I think on the surface, it's a good hire. We'll see what it does. We'll see how long he's around. The belief is that this is eventually the Kendall Briles replacement, because it's kind of hard for some people to imagine that Kendall's going to be here for 3 years, especially if Arkansas takes that step in a bigger direction in 2021 with a new quarterback. That if they do something great, like, I don't know, finish top 5, top 6 in the SEC in total offense, it's hard to imagine with the name that he has, with the influence that Kendall has across multiple states here in the South, that he's going to be an offensive coordinator going into year 3 at Arkansas. The belief is he's going to end up being a non-P5 head coach, maybe even a P5 head coach somewhere with that kind of name, with his resume and what have you. So you need to have the next guy up if you don't have the luck of looking outside the program. So there you have Dowell Loggains as your tight end coach, a guy with connections in the NFL and a guy that can recruit and a guy that has been an offense coordinator. Some fans are on board with this, some aren't, because he wasn't overly successful as an NFL offensive coordinator, but nonetheless, he's there, and that right now, that's your staff as you have it, along with Kenny Guyton, who's your receivers coach that was added on this year. And they added Ashley as well, defensive line coach Jamal Ashley. So new pieces, and it's going to be interesting to see where they go. I'm going to say it for the last time. I'm going to have to knock on wood. I think that's all we have left to give. I don't know what else they could take, Mark. I don't know what other kind of changes we could have on this staff. Never say never, though.
And actually, from Dowell Loggains' perspective, you got to imagine, unless his career's really hit a wall, that a guy that has had 4 offensive coordinator jobs in the NFL,
4, yeah,
Bears, Titans, Dolphins, Jets, is not going to go somewhere unless he's got some hope of gaining that type of position there and not permanently be a tight ends coach at the collegiate level after being an offensive coordinator at the NFL level. That seems to make sense.
It's a strange, I guess when you look at his connections, right, being from here and his connection with the University of Arkansas, it is a strange drop to go from an NFL offensive coordinator to come down as a tight end coach. It's not unheard of, though. I mean, we have seen, look, Arkansas is not a bad gig. I mean, even though the football program has not been anywhere near what it used to be, it's still not a bad gig. It pays well, and it keeps him in coaching, and maybe it's a match made in heaven. I don't know. I'm usually skeptical of guys who have fallen that far from grace, if you know what I mean. I'm a little skeptical when a guy isn't accomplished and he's dropped so far as to a positions coach at a football program that's struggled like it has. But at the same time, when you put him under the microscope, the more you like him, and more you read that people had some positive interactions with him. He helped Jay Cutler have one of his most successful years as an NFL quarterback with the Bears. I mean, he's got some bright spots in his career, and I think this could end up being a huge advantage when you take him out on the recruiting trail. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't know. You can't imagine bringing him in to be your permanent tight ends coach. I mean, that's always the mindset, right? Like, there's my guy. That's going to be my guy for the foreseeable future. It's hard to see that being him staying there for long. So then the next logical conclusion is that, well, is there an expectation that Kendall Briles, maybe Sam Pittman's aware, look, he's not going to be here for year 3. We know, and I know I'm springing this on you last minute, I just thought about it. South Carolina emails leaked, a week and a half ago from their athletic department. Kendall Briles' name was on a list of coaches that were possible replacements for Muschamp. I mean, and I'm actually working on a video. I have the script written out, and I need to remember to just sit down and do the video. But we know that Kendall has made that short list. He was a list of 10 coaches, and he was the only other offensive coordinator alongside the current Texas head coach, former Alabama offensive coordinator, Steve Sarkisian. He was the only other coordinator on that list. So I'm sure Sam Pittman is aware of that. I know he knows that his offensive coordinator is an attractive name. After all, the last name Briles is just synonymous with great offensive football, right? And not only that, his accomplishments as well outside of Florida State, but I don't really put that on him. So maybe that is the next logical conclusion would be, is Loggains, is he going to be the next guy in case Kendall isn't here for year 3? I don't want to give you my biased perception of that or my reaction to that if that were the case. I'll tell you that the people I have talked to think that this is a great idea because of his connections in the NFL and the fact that he was an offensive coordinator at the highest level of football. That is an attractive thing, and maybe that would be just fine for people. I don't know, but that could be the case. That very well could be the situation with hiring him here, is him to be the replacement, because it's strange, like I said a minute ago, for him to be this offensive coordinator, no matter the success that he had or not. Like you said, 4 different jobs, 4 different NFL franchises felt like he was capable enough. They named him their offensive coordinator. So to me, the next logical leap would be for him being here at Arkansas is possibly being the replacement for Kendall Briles if he's not back for year 3.
Interesting.